Greetings, cultivators worldwide. Jordan River here, back with more GrowCast, hot off the presses. Today we have fan favorite OKCalyxx back on the show. He's a natural farmer, he's a breeder, he is a passionate cannabis cultivator and medicinal patient advocate. We love OKCalyxx, and today he's talking about preparing for summer, preparing into fall, talking about overwinter IMO creation, dealing with climate, a lot of his new breeding work. It's a really good episode, covers a lot of territory now. There is some frog noise in the first part. Don't worry, the frogs do quiet down. I didn't know there were going to be frogs. And then OKCalyxx was hanging out in his garden. So don't worry, the frog noise does die down a few minutes in. We appreciate OKCalyxx taking the time to hang out with us from the middle of his farm, in the middle of his frog farm. I know you're going to love today's episode. Before we jump into it, though, shout out to AC Infinity, acinfinity.com. Code GrowCast15 to get your savings and keep the lights on here at GrowCast. We appreciate your support, and we love AC Infinity. They make the best grow tents around, extra thick poles. They've got nice, durable, thick siding. Now they have the new side ports. People have been asking for those, and AC Infinity, listen. Plus, they've got everything else you need to grow. They've got lights and pots and fans, and their oscillating fans, the Cloud Ray system. Check out their humidifiers, the Cloud Forge. How nice is your humidifier? Maybe it's time to replace that. The Cloud Rays are my favorite oscillators on the market. And of course, their Cloud Line series, what they got it all started with. All those years ago when we were partners with AC Infinity, all they made were those inline fans, and they're the best in the game. So shout out to the entire AC Infinity suite. They've got everything you need to get growing, from fans to tents to lights. Code GrowCast15 works at acinfinity.com. You support us, and you're getting some badass, durable grow gear while you're doing it. So thank you to all you listeners using code GrowCast15, and thank you to AC Infinity. Okay, let's get into it with OKCalyxx. Thank you for listening, and enjoy the show. Hello, podcast listeners. You are now listening to GrowCast. I'm your host, Jordan River, and I want to thank you for tuning in again today. Before we get started, as always, I urge you to share this show. Turn this show on to somebody. Turn someone on to growing. It's the best thing you can do. Send this episode out to a friend. I really appreciate you guys spreading the show. And see everything we're doing at growcastpodcast.com/action. There you'll see the classes and the seeds and the membership and all the fun stuff. Speaking of fun stuff, we've got a fan favorite back on the line. Straight from northeastern Oklahoma. You know him, you love him. OKCalyxx is back on the show. What's up, Calyxx? How are you doing, man?
What's up, Jordan? Doing good. Enjoying a nice, cool night outside.
Nice. Yeah, I hear that. I hear the frogs in the background. It sounds peaceful. It sounds serene.
That's over there in my neighbor's yard. That one going right now.
I like it, man.
Loud.
Sets the tone. Nice and relaxing. Listen, man, We love talking with OKCalyxx. Follow him on Instagram. He's got great Instagram content. You are a natural farming enthusiast, a JADAM specialist, I would say. I know you probably don't like the word expert, but you are working very hard in the field, and I know that you're constantly learning. Before we get into everything we're going to talk about today, we're going to get into all sorts of stuff, you guys. Climate control, humidity, heat, preparing for fall, a bunch of stuff. But before that, what have you been up to, man? What projects have you been working on? What's been going on in your world?
Right now, I've got a lot of big, pretty ladies growing outside. I have our year and my peach dosi cross the Bluetooth going. She has officially passed my Cherryana Grande, which is Chimera 2 cross the berry cherry, for the tallest plant outside right now, man. She is beasting out. She's huge.
Oh, I love that.
So I'm looking at that one. I got a couple Cherryana Grandes back there. Got 2 blueberry muffins on the end. The blueberry muffins, you know, some of y'all who grow blueberry muffins know that there's a purple pheno and a green pheno, or a white pheno as they call it. But one of them turns real purple, and the other one does not turn real purple. But the one that's real purple does not smell as good and fruity and blueberry as the just green variety also. So that's some deep tracks with blueberry muffin from Humboldt Seed Company. Or Humboldt Seed Company, yeah. So I've got those, and I've got my Very Cherry Frosted Bluetooth. I've got a 9 Kings, a Daily Grape. I've got a Margua, Gushers. I got a few fun things out there. A lot of these, almost every one of these are in a breeding project somewhere around here in the Tulsa area. I have just a kind of a home growers co-op of about 5 guys. I got a couple of growers, 2 breeders, and 1 guy that just got the hookups with really good genetics. And we'll talk
Nice.
about those guys here in a bit. But
Oh yeah, that's
I've been
killer.
working with those guys, man, traveling from Broken Arrow to Bixby to Sapulpa to Tulsa, taking plants back and forth. Somebody's reversing them, somebody's growing them, somebody's providing the genetics. I'm checking everything constantly, see if we're doing it right. Man, we're having a good time. We're creating a bunch of films right now. That's what we're doing.
Ooh,
And
fem drop.
yeah, it's going to be fun. And actually, the guys that I'm working with are at Kid Mac. He's a guy I've been providing a lot of good genetics. Been a lot of fun. And then at Fat Bearded _ Pothead, he's one of the growers. He's got a lot of my plants, my crosses, and he has a reversed peach dosey crossed to Bluetooth. I've already grown that sucker out a bunch of times.
Oh
And
damn.
I gave him one that I like at Ganja Farmer Genetics. He did the reversal on a couple of these plants for me. And then I took the reverses to at Fat Beard Pothead, and the other guy is at Trey the Grower. He's another grower.
Oh
He's growing
yeah.
a Carmelita, and yeah, I posted some of his stuff. Carmelita and fried strawberries. They're getting crossed with the Gushers. And all of these have been growing out for probably more than a year now. I mean, we've
Oh
turned them
man.
into rosin. We smoked the flowers. We've grown them inside. We've grown them outside. And I'm like, now's the time to do it, because these are really, really good plants. And you can see them on my OKCalyxx genetics page. They are just fire, frosty, beautiful, great terps. They've been chosen. They've been bred. You know what I'm saying? They're proven, if you will, through
Oh my
experience. We
god,
have
this
tried
sounds
them in many
amazing.
ways. So they're really going to be good. That's what I'm excited about. I really appreciate all those guys I called out. They've been working hard and listening and learning, and I'm learning from them. And we're just trying to make something fun happen. And it's really cool to get to just drive around, see these guys' houses on Fridays. Usually I go around for about 3 hours, checking on everything. We're looking at stuff, smoke a couple bowls, and go to the next house. So,
Damn, that's crazy, man. You got a whole little team going. I love to see that. Expanding the genetics. I really am flattered that you're working with some of our stuff. That peach dosi came out of our community, actually. The peach pie male, the original peach pie male that started it all, was selected by Rhizo Rich. We called it the dumpster cut because he literally pulled it out of the trash. It was being thrown away. This gorgeous male was being thrown away by a really great hash maker, a guy named the Hash Critic. And he didn't have any use for a male. So he was tossing it. And Rich was like, hold on a second. He literally pulled it out the trash bag. We call it the dumpster cut. And that started everything. And then a member took that and crossed it to Dosey Doe to make peach dosi. Shout out to Old Bay was the breeder who did that in the community. And now here you are working with the peach dosi. That's really cool. We're very, very flattered. But I got to ask you, a little mini breeder feature, since we're on this subject. How is that Gushers? What is that Gushers like? How does it express? What does
okay.
it taste and smell like? I want to know more about this Gushers that you're working with.
Okay. So the Gushers was a cut that came from Kid Mac, at Kid Mac. And let's see, the Gushers is, let me think here. The Gushers is the West Cookie Fam Genetics. They're from Cookie Fam Genetics, and it's gelato number 41 crossed to Triangle Kush.
Oh, I love Triangle Kush.
I do too. My TKLB, my Blueberry Breath, my Nag Breath, all these lemon breaths, this whole breath line I used a big Triangle Kush. It was from Brandon Russ. The name is huge. It's TK cross to NL5 Haze cross to Lime One Grape Soda, I think is the name of it. He didn't even name it. He just wrote this big lineage out, but it's loaded with this heavy kush. And then I crossed it to a plant called Lady Breath from Family Tree Seeds. And it just has all kinds of kushes in it, all kinds of OG Kush Breath Mendos. It's got a citrus farmer in there, but it's really super duper heavy kush. But that kush is really, really a delicious taste. And I use that. I've grown a lot of things out, and my Blueberry Breath that everybody likes is real cushy and sweet blueberry on the end. That's typically how they would describe it. So this Gushers gelato number 41 across the Triangle Kush. It's a big plant. I've grown it indoors and outdoors. The last time I grew it was outdoors this early spring. I timed it to where I had about 6 plants that I flowered out indoors for 2 weeks. And then I put them outside for about 6 or 7 weeks to let them finish out because, wasn't enough daylight still. I was able to do it. And Gushers was one of them. It is on my OKCalyxx genetics page. Go look at it. Super duper colorful. Oranges, yellows, purples, highlighted greens, like a neon green on the flower itself, on the bracts. And it tastes and smells just like hard candy grape hard candies. Really grapey, really sugary side of the fruity spectrum. And it gets big, it gets frosty, and that is getting crossed to a Carmelita. And Carmelita is from Exotic Genetics. It's a grease monkey crossed with creme de mint. This Carmelita, to me, tastes 100% garlic. Just a straight up, hard, crushed garlic. When you smell it on the flower rosin, it's garlic. When you smoke it through a puffco, it's garlic. When you hit it in the pipe, it's garlic. It's just wonderful, and I love it. It's just a really, really garlic. There's nothing else to it to me. Now, at Trey the grower is the guy growing that Carmelita out, and he goes and describes it a lot. But he's also got the fried strawberries that we're going to cross with the gushers. And fried strawberries is Bloom Seed Co. It's straw guava across the apple fritter. It's Lumpy's cut, and it is what, strawberry Pop Tart creamy kind of a thing. It's with a little bit of funky gas on the end, but definitely a strawberry smell to it. So that's what's going on. There's a lot of stuff.
Man,
that gushers is good.
I know. It sounds like you really have a stable of impressive genetics at this point, man. And all that triangle Kush in there. It's funny. We were talking about the TK Lotto, which is a triangle Kush gelato, two lineages that you're working with, and what that lends. So I love to see more triangle Kush out there. It's funny that you bring that one up. And coming from Brandon Rust, very, very interesting. Coming full circle here.
Swinging around, yep.
Man, really, really cool. We love your breeding work, and keep us up to date, everybody. Again, OKCalyxx and OKCalyxx Genetics, 2 Instagram pages to follow for sure. Hey, man, let's get into this, though. Let's get into some gardening. You are I would consider you the natural farming specialist. You're an outdoor and an indoor grower, but you deal with the elements. When you're doing what you do, which is outdoor veggie farming, outdoor cannabis farming, growing flowers, plants of all types, you're dealing with the elements. And in Oklahoma, you have to deal with some of the harshest elements, rapid changes in weather, hailstorms, tornadoes. I guess there's no way to stop a tornado if it's coming through your garden. But we can prepare for the upcoming seasons. You know, we're entering summer here. It's going to get hot across a lot of the country. It's going to get humid across a lot of the country. And people struggle with these issues, man. Do you have any advice for outdoor gardeners who are preparing for this hot, muggy summer?
Yeah. So I've grown outside for probably the last 8-ish years, 8, maybe 9 years. A few of the guerrilla grows, and then in 2018 it became legal, and I've had backyard plants every time. I think one of the things that most of the guys don't get when they first start to grow outside is the time, the sunrise, the sunset, how much light there is, how much darkness there is. A lot of people feel like when that sun is shining bright and it's warm outside, it's like, boy, I'm going to get my plants out here and we're going to get them big and all that. And then, mid-March, it starts to do that to you. Then April really starts to feel good, but there's still too much darkness in the skies. And what happens to all these guys is they start asking me why their plants are already starting to flower in April or May. And it's because there's not enough light. There's too much darkness, and it triggers those plants into flowers. So one thing that I'm always doing in preparation for September, late August, September, when, you really kind of want it to flower, is I'm giving it supplemental lighting. In Oklahoma, we always have some wind blow through, a little storm come through, and then the light shine, the sun's bright, but then it gets dark again. And a dark day will trigger your plants into flower. I mean, if you don't want your plants re-vegging, and I can't stand re-vegges anymore. There's no need for outside re-veg at all because it just sets you back months. You have to start all over. So I don't want re-veg. So in preparation for September, for me to have some big, healthy plants that have been in veg the whole time, haven't had to be stressed and go through re-veg of any kind, for them to be as healthy as they can, I don't want any re-veg. So I give them supplemental lighting all the way into the end of June and probably into July. Probably after the 4th of July, I'll quit.
The outdoors? You have some floodlights out there on extension cords, something like that?
That's right. Floodlights all the way out there, and I'll leave them on until about 2 o'clock in the morning, and just to make sure that they don't trigger into flower. I don't want them in flower at all. So, but that's something you got to watch out for, because all of a sudden you'll see your plants, man, you're like, man, they're not growing anymore. Because what will happen is you'll have one day of darkness, a whole night of darkness, and then you've got your 12 hours of darkness, and it's going to trigger that plant. And what will happen is in the very next day, you'll have a bright, sunshiny day all day long. Sun's out until 8:30 at night, that wants to switch it out of flower because there's not going to be enough darkness to hold it in flower the next day. And you'll just see your plants stunted for a month. They won't do anything, or you might see them start to pistil out and then start to try to re-veg, and they come out with that single bract leaf and all that mess. So floodlights, get yourself some supplemental lighting. Let your plants be totally at peak veg perfection when they are really ready to switch into flower, when that sun drops in that sky,
That's
supplemental
really
lighting.
Advice.
That's
and
one
avoid
thing.
avoid that re-veg.
And so the next thing that I start to do is I start to prepare my lower branches for clones. I don't always keep clones, but when I'm breeding, if I've got a good plant, which I do out there, I've got quite a few, like these gushers and that we talked about, these other plants that we've been going for a year now, I'm going to keep these things going. And these are the only ones I have. A couple of breeders might have a few of these, but I'm the guy that kind of has this local hub of the things that we're working with. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at my lower branches, because the way I grow all my plants kind of together, I create this big, massive top of beautiful tops sticking out. And then down in the middle, everything is cleared out, and below everything is cleared out. That's during flower. But right now, I'm just letting my plants get big and bushy and veggie. Just trying to bend them out. I don't let them just grow straight up. I like to pull them sideways. I don't like to top my plants either from seed. I like to let them just grow big meristems. And then I will pull that meristem top way down close to the ground. And then all those branches start to just grow straight up, and it creates this massive bush of tops. That's my end goal that I do for my plants. So what I'm doing right now, though, is I'm looking at my lower branches, because I need to clone these plants eventually. Probably first week that I realize, we're in flower, I'm going to start trying to get clones off of them. But I'm looking at the lower ones, and I'm keeping them totally cleaned off, except like the top maybe 6 fan leaves or top sugar leaves and up.
Nice.
Because I want those for my clones. And I'm going to remove those when we go into flower, because I want that bottom all cleared off. So I'm prepping my lowers for clones right now. I'm watching those. I'm not going to keep all of them. If I just want like 5 clones from each plant, I'm not keeping every lower there is, but I am going to keep a few of those. I'll clean the rest of those off, allow that energy to continue to go other places in the plant. I also will start to clean the middle out. Leave the tops, man. Leave about 6 inches of the branch from the top, and about 6 inches to 7 inches down, or depending on if you got a big stretchy plant, go about 4 nodes down. And then basically everything under that, I strip all the way off, and it will be totally hollow within inside of my plants, because September comes, and if you've got big, thick, bushy plants, they will hold so much moisture just in the environment inside that big bushy area.
Yes.
The leaves don't even have to be super wet. It just creates a damp, moist environment in there, real humid. Dead air, just sitting there and wanting to rot everything. And so keep the insides cleaned out. That's what I do. Strip those, lollipop them up really well, and you're not losing bud. You are saving bud is what you're doing.
Yeah, you're actually gaining bud. You're 100% right. And this is something that's come up on the show. We have not talked about it in a while, which is people are generally too conservative with their bottom pruning. They're scared they're going to take too much from the plant. They're going to hurt the plant by stripping it. And in reality, doing anything on that bottom pruning is a good idea, right? Like you're saying, you're opening up that airflow. You're eliminating those growth sites that are just going to end up being larvae anyways, and you're taking all that energy and putting it towards the top buds where the majority of the weight is. But back to, not being liberal enough with the cutting is, I would say 50% to 66%. Like you said, just leave a little bit at the top. It seems like if you're a first-time grower and someone shows you how to do this, you're like, what the fuck? Seems like you're killing your plant. But that's really the best way to clean up that bushiness, open up that airflow, and maximize your yields. Some people say like 2/3 of the bottom of the plant stripped, right? And it seems like too much, but don't be scared to take a lot when you're bottom pruning just before flower.
That's right. Multiple reasons too, like you're saying. Another one, those inners aren't going to get big. And as we all know, experienced it before, those lowers to mids on the branch, when they dry out, eventually they're as big as your fingernail, and you're like, okay, that was a waste, and you should have just stripped it off from the beginning. It's not going to give you any medicinal return for the cost it takes on that plant to grow that little bud out down in the middle. Just rip that thing off because it's not going to give you enough medicine for what it's
So
trying
true.
to pull from the plant. So
Yeah.
clean them all out for the health of the plant to create a better environment and flow down in there. For the plants also push its energy out to those heavy colas on the top. Those are going to have much more medicine on them. They're going to be bigger and fatter, and they're going to dry up and be good nugs that you can show your friends. So,
Yeah, exactly. And I still find myself finishing up flower and being like, I probably should have gone a little more aggressive with the pruning. Like I still, after years of growing. So it's definitely an interesting thing. But with the humidity, you nailed it. When those fan leaves are laying on top of each other, it's creating a pocket of moisture that is perfect for mold and mildew to grow. That's how you come out. And then suddenly there's just powdery mildew all over your plants. And it's because there wasn't enough airflow through. So very, very important to open up that airflow.
And so,
in that garden bed.
continuing with the airflow idea, what I do is I have a ton of bamboo sticks that I use. And one of the reasons that I pull that meristem straight over and bend my plants over is for the very reason we're talking about, is to create more flow. Like if you have a no-till spot like I do, it's about, say 12 feet long by 6 feet wide or something like that. I've got about 7 or 8 plants in there, and they're going to be humongous whenever the end of July comes around. And so I take bamboos and push them in at about a 45-degree angle, something like that. Or sorry, not a 45, but more like what would it be, around a 75 or something, and just pull that plant out really hard and really bend it over and let those lateral branches get the sun. And that way you're going to have, 6 or 7 big branches of the tops come up instead of the meristem fighting for it all. And I get more return that way. I get more big tops on the very end. I'll lollipop everything off. But
That's
it also
wild,
creates
man.
good airflow. It pulls everybody apart, and it lets you get more cannabis and way more airflow that way.
I want to hear from the audience, because that's a low stress training technique, which is a great way to train out your plants. But I got to say, I usually see it indoor more than outdoor. It's cool that you're sticking stakes down into your bed and using low stress training outside. But I want to hear the listeners. If you're a low stress trainer outside, let me know. That's really cool, man. And that low stress training is dope because of what is indicated in the name. The growth rates don't slow down at all. It doesn't mind being bent over. Something high stress like super cropping or topping, it kind of does shock the plant a little bit. You'll see it stop growing as vigorously. You'll see it start to want more sulfur as you stress the plant. And I am a topper myself, don't get me wrong, but I think low stress training, if you're really, really good at it, I feel like it's a little bit more of an art. And I think it might be the best way to train your plants because you never really slow down due to stress.
Yeah. Low stress training is definitely just a better way than really just getting after them. I mean, like you said, you can totally do it and she will respond. But my goal is to have the biggest, bushiest, greenest outside plants I possibly can. And so I'm not slowing them down one bit by just putting a little bend on them and curving them, something like that. There's no stress whatsoever. It's just bending them over and giving them more sun down deep. So that's really the best way is low stress it for me. But each to his own.
Growcast 20% off at thefoop.com. That's right. This code has been activated. Guys, there was a little bit of a hiccup with the Growcast code at thefoop.com. You know we love the Foop. Organic, fully certified organic, nutrients, and much more. Well, our code Growcast at thefoop.com wasn't working. The owner, Larry, found out about it. He said, hey, we had an issue with the code. To make up for it, code Growcast20 is active for the rest of the month. June only, 20% off thefoop.com. If you've been thinking of trying the Foop, if you need to grab some mist or some clone gel, grab it, use code Growcast20. That's 20% off. And the normal code has been restored and is working from now on. So apologies if anybody had trouble with the code Growcast. Larry has made it up to us. Code Growcast20 for 20% off. Get yourself some of the organic clone gel. Get that beautiful bloom bursting all over your clones. Get some of the Foop Mist, my favorite foliar spray. Cures what ails you. Full spectrum plant mist. Has all the micro and macronutrients you need, plus microbiology and much, much more. Find it all at thefoop.com. Use code Growcast20 for 20% off this month only. Go and grab them, everybody. Larry was nice to do that. So if you've been thinking about trying the amazing organic nutrients that are the Foop, use code Growcast20 at thefoop.com. Thank you to the Foop for their support. So we're going to get through summer. We're going to deal with the heat. Last episode, we talked about heat. We talked about shade cloths and supplying silica and things like this. You gave us some good tips for humidity. But then we enter the fall months here. And I know that doesn't stop you with your gardening and everything that you're doing. But how are you thinking as these seasons shift through summer and into the fall? What do you have planned for this year?
Yeah, so man, often when people get into organics, they grow in the summer. They make a few inputs and they use them. And then it's like, okay, fall's here. It's cold outside. I can't do anything anymore. That's kind of what it feels like, So like, oh, it's not sunshine anymore. So organics is over. The land is barren. There's hardly anything growing. There's no leaves. Everything's dead, right? It's like, nothing to do. But that's totally wrong. There's actually more to be done in the fall because the fall is the prep work for the spring and the summer. And you want more than you need. You don't want to run up short with compost. You don't want to run up short with a bucket of JLF and you're like, dang it, I got to go buy nutrients now because I didn't make enough JLF this fall, something like that. So thinking about fall preparation, the first thing I always think about is the garden areas, my no-till areas of whether I'm growing vegetables or cannabis. Those places are the places I think about. Even right now, I'm thinking about them. And we'll talk about a few things I'm doing. But I'm thinking about the fertility of my garden because right now, as my plants are growing, as they're producing food and fruits and vegetables, they are sucking nutrients out of the ground. Mm-hmm. And really, when you look at your garden, when you see your plants above ground, you're seeing your nutrients that was below ground now. That's what it is. It's up there in those plants, and it's not in your ground anymore. And it won't be when you take vegetables out and you eat them. It now goes in your body. But you can help your garden by not pulling leaves and throwing them in the trash, always putting your foliage back onto the ground just below the plants. Just let it fall like nature would. Don't take out any nutrients because the plants are already pulling out lots of nutrients. So with that in mind, always put defoliation back down on the ground. Also, you're going to need to replace that nutrient somehow. And so you're going to need to keep those plants that were growing there, to keep them, chop them up and put them right back down on the ground. In the Jadam world, that's called your base fertilizer. But then you've also got to be thinking about, you need even more nutrient in there because you're putting the base fertilizer down, which is the nutrient that you can see in the plants, you're going to actually put the plants on the ground and that nutrient will go back. But you've eaten some fruits and vegetables out of there. And so it's actually lacking more nutrient than it started with. So you need to add additional fertilizers. And in my world, I use JLF, Jadam Liquid Fertilizer, and JMS, Jadam Microbial Solutions. I can use other stuff. I can use whatever I want. But I use that as additional fertilizer, constantly pouring JLF onto my no-till spots. And that's what I use to feed everything I grow. I use JLF. So you want to be making JLF during the fall. Even right now, you want to always be making JLF, but in the fall, you definitely want to be making it because you need it to sit for months to get that nutrient down into the liquid. Somebody might not know what JLF is. It is a liquid fertilizer that you make from Mother Nature around your home area. You're going to pull up grass and leaves, your food scraps, vegetables, plants, anything that has a nutritional value, you can put into a JLF. You can add some leaf mold, which is just dirt around your yard, dried leaves and junk. Throw it in there to get some microbes into the bucket. And all of that together eventually creates a liquid that has fertilizer that you can water your plants with. And it's a totally free fertilizer. So that's what you're making when you make your JLF. You're making fertilizer. And you want to pour that JLF into your garden before next spring when you start to grow. Right? You got to get your base fertilizer down, and then you need even more nutrient poured into it so that it's prepped and ready to go again. And it starts at least where it did last year, and hopefully even better as a garden with nutritional value and all and organic matter and all that than it was the year before.
Get a jump start on that. Well, because it's going to take so long, that JLF. And I know that it goes quicker in heat, but that doesn't mean you can't still do it over winter and get that huge head start.
Oh yeah, go ahead and do it in the winter. It'll still work. It'll even freeze up. My JLFs in Oklahoma will freeze in outside buckets and it'll thaw out. And you put a handful of fresh greens in there and it'll fire right back up immediately.
Fires it back up. Somebody was asking about that. Someone was asking about frozen JLF, and I remember you saying that it'll thaw out just fine. Life sure does. Really does find a way.
Both of them froze up. Another thing I'm doing right now is when I mow grass, or my neighbors mow their grass or bag up some leaf or stuff like that, I get bags of grass. Mowed grass is just the best thing. I love mowed grass for composting, for any, just top covers, all kinds of stuff. But one thing you can do with mowed grass that I love to do is put it in a plastic bag and let it just sit over summer, and it'll rot down into some mucky kind of clumpy stuff, but it is very high nutritional value for fertilizer. You know, good green grass. I'll put it in I'll put it in a plastic bag. Often I'll throw IMO2 in there, or I'll put bokashi in there. Just mix it all up, not wet, not water, just raw IMO2, and just mix it all in there. And man, you open it up towards the end of summer, and it's just covered in white fungus material, bacteria, mold, fungus, and it's just a great jump start. It's a bag of IMO that you're going to put on your garden in the fall, and it's going to just start chowing down all the organic matter you're going to pile in there. That's one good thing to do with those bags of leaves you see people have. Or, another thing is talking to your neighbors. Yeah, I'm going to talk about this one for a second. I saw in my neighborhood a guy, and he had a big trailer and had a bunch of mowers on it and all this. And like, well, clearly he mows yards for, business. So anyway, I talked to him, and long story short, he's now mowing my yard, but also he's bringing me all of his mowed grass. And his Instagram is at Clean Clippings. He's here in the Tulsa area, actually lives right here close to me. But that was a score because he doesn't have to take it to the dump, which is for him is by weight. And so it frees up a lot of poundage of just bio waste. And he brings it out here to my house so probably once or twice a week now. And man, I do all kinds of stuff with that, man. It's just wonderful to have fresh grass, high in nitrogen like that. So another person at Homesteading Homie, her name is Natalie. She looked me up on Instagram, saw videos, texted me and said, or messaged me and said, hey, I've got a homestead out here, and you're always welcome to come out here. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. It's like, she probably lives in Alaska or something like that. She ends up living 6 miles from my house. I could not believe it. And so I go out there, and she has turkeys, quails, chickens, rabbits, goats, llamas, sheep, everything. And I now have bags of quail manure, chicken manure, sheep manure, llama manure.
That's so cool.
And it's all just sitting in my backyard, just breaking down. And that'll also be put on in the fall. Another neighbor, she has chickens, and she's like giving me endless supply of chicken manure. Just tons of people. And
now, how do you return the favor here, man? Do you return the favor with some bamboo IMO sticks? I mean,
always. Oh, yes. I always take bags of IMO3, bokashi, labs. I just take them a box full, say,
I'm sure they appreciate
it. Here you go.
Yeah, I was actually ribbing you, but that's a good point. That is a good gift. If you come with the labs, that's actually great for the livestock. But damn, having neighbors like those, hey, I need some quail eggs. Hook me up with some fertilizer. That's dope, dude. That's dope as shit.
Man. It's all free, dude. And it gets it off of their farm because it's too much. You can have a big waste pile, and they live kind of in city limits, so they have to be careful with what they're doing. So it's just a great way to share the fertilizer. That is, that's fertilizer. That's what it is. That's what we're needing. That's what we're buying or what you're buying in the store. But it's straight from Mother Nature. It's totally free. It won't cost you anything. My whole mindset is don't spend anything. Don't spend anything. I had to spend money on lights to grow inside. I had to spend some money on pots. Those are those one-time expenses, though, that get you going.
Yep.
But those returning costs, like dirt, nutrients, genetics, things like that, you don't have to pay for that anymore. You can make that stuff all on your own.
Fuck yes. That's why I love educators like you out there teaching people how to do this, how to save so much money, go down this path. People like Rhizo Rich, who are breeders, who are willing to teach people how to breed, even if you want to go deep with it, right, and pay for like a class. That one class is going to save you thousands and thousands of dollars because it's going to teach you how to make seeds for the rest of your life or how to make fertilizers from your plant waste for the rest of your life. It's the classic teach a man to fish. And that's the thing, Calyxx, not everybody's going to be as into it, as in depth, right? But for the people that are, oh my God, you are a savior to those people because they want to learn this. They want to learn every little bit, and they want to get just as into it as you do. They want to nerd out, man. They want to nerd out.
That's right. I think one of the things, the ways that I'm a high anxiety person, and anxiety makes you think about the future a lot, and it's actually an actual gift and a blessing. High anxiety, if it can be used correctly, also it can destroy your life through worry and depression and all that stuff. But if you learn to control your anxiety, you can kind of see what's coming in the future. And I can tell you right now, there's that potential of people who aren't interested in it right now. You will be soon enough whenever you have to start growing your own food. And so when it hits the fan and things get bad, we will revert to these natural methods and ways. And I don't even have I don't have enough land right now at my home to grow enough food for my family for a year. I can supplement throughout the year, canning things and drying things, but there's no way right now I can even grow enough food for my 7-person family. I can only
That's
imagine
true.
there's plenty of people out there that don't have any knowledge of anything, of how to grow anything. Like this knowledge is going to be necessary.
It's true,
If
man. It's
it's
crazy how far you have to go to make it like really fully sustainable, right? Like, I love that people are taking the steps that they can, but like you said, if you had to go into full production to feed your family, you would have to expand your operation. It's
yeah.
crazy. It really is. And that's why I respect, like you were talking about the homesteader neighbors earlier. That's why I respect those homesteaders who they go and they
Yeah.
get the livestock and they go all out. That just doesn't fit into my lifestyle, at least right now.
Mhm.
But boy, would I love to do that one day.
Yeah, we've got land out in Tahlequah that one day we'll probably be on, and it's lots and lots of acreage. I mean, it has a
Nice.
huge pond, lots of trees, big open fields. I would grow the heck out of that place. But eventually, we'll probably be out there. So that's definitely a goal, is to be able to grow enough food to supplement heavily all year long. You know what I'm saying? Still have to probably purchase some things, but just to be able to say we've got lots of dried canned, we got vegetables canned, just lots of
Yeah.
things, that supplement your dinner and really help save. But anyway,
I think
another thing I was thinking about for fall preparation is looking at your yard. This is another point I was going to bring up. Looking at your yard and asking what can be used in another form, right? Look at your plants, the different types of plants that are growing up right now, and just ask, how you type in Google, how can I use sunflowers in an organic way? And you're going to get so many ideas. How can I use cannabis skeletons organically? And you're going to get all these ideas. And so with my backyard, I'm always thinking, okay, with my sunflowers, I can make a really good fermented plant extract, soaking sunflower stalks in labs for a couple months, just sitting there pulling everything out, draining off the liquid and using it later. You can also make water soluble calcium with them. People make biochar with sunflowers. We've talked about kanakashi, where I took the cannabis skeletons that were left over after flower, let them dry out, just crispy dry. We shredded those up in a leaf chipper. I added some wheat bran and those cannabis skeletons and made what's called kanakashi. And it's just reusing organic material, fermenting it, and then being able to apply it to your garden, because that's going to help break down organic matter and put nutrient into the garden. You can also collect flower seeds. If you're growing sunflowers or zinnias or some flower that puts off a seed that's easy to get, keep the biggest, prettiest one. Keep the color one. Keep the purple one if you want the purple. Keep the red if you want the red zinnia. Keep that big, big, huge sunflower that grew the tallest. Keep it and keep the seeds. And you pull those seeds out, you let them dry, and those will be your seeds for next year. And that's kind of the idea of homesteading your flowers and your vegetables. You would do the same thing with your tomato plant. Keep the plant that grew the tallest, put on the biggest fruit, keep one of those tomatoes. You pull the seeds out, you wash them off, you let them dry, you preserve them, and those are for your next year. But that's something fun that you can actually do. And really, if you'll just pull out some seeds off of sunflower or zinnias or tomatoes, like we said, the year goes by so fast that you'll be like, "God, I can't believe it's already time to plant these seeds. I can't wait to see if they pop." And they will. And you'll grow
Yeah.
them out again. And you'll pick the biggest one again. And it's just the same idea of breeding cannabis, but you can do that with your garden. And it's just something fun to do. So another preparation for fall.
I love that, man. And I think it points to this bigger picture. A lot of the things you're talking about, whether it's getting your JLF started for the year or thinking about pruning ahead of summer, it's like I would challenge the listener to think of their grow in a longer time frame, right? Think a few
Yeah.
years down the road. So many people get started growing. They're like, all right, how long does it take? If I'm going to start growing today, how long does it take to get a harvest? That's one of the great things about cannabis. You're like, damn, I can get a harvest in 12 weeks or whatever if I start from today. And so I think that's what's really attractive about cannabis. But I think towards the end game is when you start thinking years ahead of time. You start planning out your garden, planning out your outdoor garden, becoming more sustainable over time. That's really what I would challenge the listeners to do, is think in a longer time frame. How can you improve? How can you optimize? And how can you make things more sustainable?
That's exactly right. One of the best ways to create a sustainable growing area is to introduce more organic matter. And you just can't stress it enough that don't just grow in a spot and then be done with it. you've got to continue to put nutrient in there in the form of vegetation. So always put fruits and vegetables. You could basically just compost in your no-till spots. That's what you're doing. It's just open top layer composting. And all you're doing is really you're mimicking the way nature composts. Nature layers on top of layers itself, right? It falls and it stays. More falls and it stays. And what that does is it creates a crust on top of the ground, which is a protective layer for the microbiology that's growing underneath it. That's why when we pull those, big watermelon chunks and we look at it, we pull that avocado back, we're like, what's underneath it? Well, they're under there because they're protected. And so all of that soil layering that falls down on top, and you put fruits and vegetables in your no-till, put your defoliation, mow grass, throw your inputs, IMO 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, all that stuff goes in there. You're creating a good crust on the top of your garden. And you actually need that. Many reasons. Protection for the microbiology is one, but it also does a great job of holding in moisture. Get the top layer crust on there. And I always look for that crust. Bokashi, kanakashi, any type of thing that's been fermented down bokashi style creates that nice little hard crust that you get those hyphae that grow on it. And underneath it, you'll have lots of the roly-polies and worms. So organic matter, OM, you'll see that in the books, in the articles that you read. When you see the OM, that means organic matter. And
compost, adding some compost to your garden, adding food scraps, living waste, things like that. That's all organic matter, right?
You can pee in your garden, dude. You can do anything. That is an organic method that was thrown out many years ago. People pee in jars and hold it, but just pee in your compost. Anything.
Nitrogen,
yes,
baby.
Heavy nitrogen.
Heavy nitrogen.
Exactly right.
You're telling me. Yeah, man. I think that's a key to what you're saying before as well. You talk about this dropping of the leaf layers and then maybe mulch over that, or put compost down over that and layering this garden. I'd like to get your time frame on this. You started growing outdoors in this spot 8 years ago, you said, or I guess you said you were doing it around, but let's just say, you start in a brand new spot. In your case, how long did it take you before you feel like the soil really got established and started ripping? Was the first year rough? Did it take 2-3 years to get going, or was it faster than that?
Yeah. So, okay. As years go by, it always looks better, but if you do it right, year 2, it's going to be definitely growable dirt/soil. And dirt would be considered, stuff that grass will grow in, but you're not going to get great vegetables growing out of it. Maybe a little too much sand, clay, something like that in it. Soil is intentionally made either by Mother Nature or we make it, to grow in. And so what I do when I create a new no-till spot is I take a shovel, I'll stick the shovel all the way in the area, and I'll pop it open and I'll flip it and I'll turn it upside down so that the grass goes down and that the dirt is facing up. And I'll scoot back about 8 inches. I'll put the shovel in, pop it up, flip it. And I will do that to the area that I'm going to start creating a no-till area, because I am going to break the ground. That's just going to help. If after a while you don't want to break the ground anymore because it's good soil with hyphae networks all underneath the soil and all that stuff. But to begin with, pop the soil with a shovel. That means scoop it up, turn it over. And when you got your area turned over, the next thing you're going to do is, hopefully, if you got compost, is put compost all over it. Let the compost fall down in the holes and all that stuff. So lots of compost, lots of JLF, and then I start putting the organic matter on. Any leftover food scraps from my table, I go to fruit market dumpsters. I go to grocery store dumpsters. I will get out food that hasn't been eaten and vegetables and fruits, and I'll take it home and I'll compost it or I'll put it in my no-till spots. But definitely putting raw organic matter that has nutrient in it, something that could probably still be eaten, but just in the dumpster. That kind of stuff, which is high in nutritional value, that all is going to go into your garden. And then after you get the food down, I will put leaves and grass because I want that food covered because it attracts critters and it just has a bacteria stink to it after a while. So I want to get it all covered up and I want it to just kind of melt down all into the soil. And that is the beginning of me creating a no-till spot. And just throughout the year, I will continue to dump JLF and put any organic matter that I have. I will just compost in that area. And after 1 year of doing that, I'm growing in it the very next year, right? I start one in the summer, I'll work it through a year, and next summer I'm growing in it. Wow. And it will put off nice plants. But the second summer, that's when I start to see those secondary succession things come in, the roly-polies, the big, big fatty worms, the other animals coming in to eat those worms, possums, raccoons. You create a living soil that has stuff in it that is feeding more than just plants now, because you've got lots of living biology in there, and that attracts worms and shredders, and worms and shredders attracts possums and raccoons, and all kinds of stuff happens whenever you get a good soil. So in my backyard, once you see critters around it, you know that there's big worms in there. You know that it's good, on its way to a good healthy soil. So 2 years, you'll have a good growing spot.
That's fantastic. And like you said, you're doing it with a method. You're applying IMO that you have and JLF that you have. But even so, that's rather quick to be able to switch off of the perpetual expense that is salt nutrients. It was a similar story in the coffee farms as well. When I was down south in Colombia, they said it took a little while to get going. And then, eventually we completely are closed loop and sustainable virtually. Their farms were doing better with drought. They were obviously reducing their costs, weren't impacted by the fertilizer shortages that hit everybody. Yeah, it's very fascinating.
When people look at my page, I'm not telling people that it can work in their third story apartment. It won't. What I do, making lots of compost and making JLF and all this stuff, you got to have a little space. So, not everything that we're talking about works for every person. This works for a specific person who has a setup kind of similar to me, who's got a little bit of land and some room to move and has trees and has Mother Nature dropping things that you can reuse. If you do have that, you have the ability to close the loop, meaning you wouldn't have to purchase anything from a store anymore. All you would do is work on your land, work any trees that are around you, work any fields that are around you,
maybe
and just gather up the materials that fall. Maybe some neighbors' stuff. That's right. I'm sitting here in my gasoline alley looking at about 4 totes of IMO 3. And it's another thing that you're going to start doing in the fall is you're going to gather sticks, nuts, grass, twigs. You're going to gather bamboo leaves, all kinds of woody bits and pieces, material that's going to break down into dirt eventually. You're just going to gather as much of that up as you can, and you can make something called Indigenous Microorganisms 3. And it's just a bunch of woody, earthy material that has been inoculated with lots of microbes and nutrients, and it's really dense with microbiology. And that's something you can use and put on your garden. You can use it to grow in. I mix my IMO 3 with my compost that I make, and that is my growing medium for indoors. I grow in what's called Indigenous Microorganisms 4, which is IMO 3 plus compost.
Wow.
And it's fresh. It's new, and I think we talked about it before on GrowCast podcast, that the reason I started making compost was simply because Fox Farm soil bags were starting to cost too much. I got 5 kids, man. I got to spend money elsewhere. And I'm like, man, I don't want to keep buying dirt. I got to do something. And I'd always composted. And I'm like, heck, I'm going to bump this up to a freaking machine back here and make enough compost that I can grow in. And I grew in just compost for about 2 years. And that's why I made my stickers called Straight Out of Compost, because it really was just compost I grew out of. And I didn't aerate it. I didn't do anything. I just used compost. And then I started learning, I'm like, I'm going to mix this IMO 3 in here and make a IMO 4. And I'm going to try to grow out of it. And the plants even look better than the just compost when I added that IMO 3. And so now I grow out of IMO 4.
That's wild, man.
Totally free.
People love this shit. I mean, even those whose situations it doesn't apply to, they love following you, man. They love aspiring to this or just watching people do it. It's so fascinating. It's so cool. You really are doing God's work out there, man. We absolutely love it. So you keep it up, OKCalyxx. Godspeed and God bless, man. Love everything you're doing. What do you have coming up before we wrap up the show? Any events you're going to be at, or new drops, or any news?
Well, there is. Let's see. There's something I haven't made sure I'm going to it yet or anything. But Oklahoma Fungi, he's putting on a little show up there in Oklahoma City. One of our first kind of mushroom shows, I believe. That's
Hell yeah!
I'm kind of interested in
Oklahoma Mushroom Festival. I think, guys, don't quote me on this. I think it's October 15th. I believe.
Yeah, check that out.
And it's Oklahoma Fungi. You're going to be up there, dude? I'll see you up there.
Well, I'm definitely hoping to. I'm hoping to just see what's going on, find out, what direction he's taking that, and either go participate or just go watch. And that'll be cool. So that's something that's coming up. Man, the outside plants, go check it out. OKCalyxx Genetics. These babies are going to get big. This summer is all about trying to produce some FEMs. I always
just real quick, tell me about that FEM line. Before we wrap the show, I want to hear about this. What can we expect with the FEMs?
or the fem is all of that gusher stuff we talked about at the beginning. The gusher was reversed. It was a female that was reversed by ganja farmer, and now we're taking that female pollen and we are pollinating Carmelita with gushers, and we're pollinating fried strawberries with gushers. Those are going to be fems coming out. Oh, probably I would say 8 to 10 weeks or so.
Nice.
Got to get them all cleaned up and all that stuff. Going to take a while. Got life to live also, but they'll be coming out in so. And then we've got the peach dosi crossed to Bluetooth that was reversed, and it's getting crossed to my Bluetooth crossed to berry cherry. It's getting crossed to a blueberry guava, which is dulce de freeze, crossed to my Bluetooth. There's a few other things. A blueberry passion, which was Cap's passion pit, crossed to my Bluetooth. I keep saying my Bluetooth because let me tell you what Bluetooth is. It's a heavy blueberry thing that I created. And I took a blueberry muffin and I crossed it to blueberry train mac. I bred a bunch of these out and I selected about 10 females and got those down to 3. And those were called blueberry squealers. And I used 3 blueberry squealers to create a bunch of other things. And I took one blueberry squealer and I crossed it to a blueberry mac muffin from SFE Genetics. And that cross is Bluetooth. And it turned out so sugary, yummy, fruity, blueberry, melon, strawberry. It's just so far on the fruit spectrum, and it's sugar sweet. There's 0 gas to it. And so that Bluetooth got crossed to a lot of things, to berry cherry, to peach dosi. And a lot of the ones that we grew out that we liked, we kept, and we kept growing and growing. And, now we're here. So there's a lot of fems coming from a reversed peach dosi, a reversed gushers, and a reversed margua, which is a belief strain.
Oh man, that is the fucking lineup. I'm so flattered that you're working with the peach dosi, and it makes sense that you're putting it in with the rest of those strains. Now that you've experienced that specific cut of peach dosi, I call that one the peach Laffy Taffy cut. To me, it just smells like sweet, mouth-watering peach Laffy Taffy. So when you're talking about this, super sweet, super fruity, peach dosi is going to slide right in there, man. It's going to line right up with the rest of those.
We grew that peach dosi out a couple times at Legends Cannabis Company, and it turned out always a sweet gas. It had a good, just kind of a like you say, a peachy, a melony kind of a sweetie with a little gas on the end. But the one thing that is really impressive about it, the freaking nugs on it, man. It's humongous. They were big, solid, dense nugs.
Really dense.
And that's what those commercial growers wanted.
Super dense
really
cultivar.
Dense. Yeah. And that's what I'm a little worried. So that's something you got to watch out for outside too. Those big, dense nugs that you think are beautiful. When you crack them open, they're brown and rotten.
So true. Those are the ones you got to be extra careful with, the humidity, that density, that humidity down in that.
Yes. Pod. And that's why you just got to strip off that junk, strip that lower stuff off, get rid of everything, leave the big ones, protect them, take care of them, man. Those are the pretty ones you want.
Damn right. And think ahead in your grow. I love that for the overarching message, which is don't think about just getting through this run. Think in terms, even if you're indoor and you're not talking about, regenerating this or that, think long term, guys. Think about expanding, think about optimizing, and just getting better all the time, never stagnating. That's why we like you, Calyxx. You're always studying, you're always teaching, you're always learning. I love it. Yeah.
Always think about what you're going to reuse. You're going to reuse something. What can you use over and over again? Even like cloth pots or some kind of hard plastic pot. Those cloth pots, those pots stay around. I know it's plastic, but my whole point in my idea of growing, and I learned it from Jadam. The whole purpose of Jadam was to help poor communist farmers grow their own crops.
Right.
And so what I try to do, and it's easier for me because I got 5 kids, man. And a lot of times things get expensive. It's like, dang it, I don't want to spend a bunch of money on other things. I got to freaking take 2 kids to the dentist, and one's got to have freaking football gear, and the list goes on. So it really is important for me as a human being, as a father, to make sure I'm saving my money. It's really important for a poor communist farmer, say somewhere in Laos or Cambodia.
Yeah.
It's real important for him to grow his food because he's not going to the grocery store and he ain't got any place to go.
He's got
the
no
provider.
money.
He's the man.
He's got
nobody.
Yeah.
And so you think like that guy. If you can think like that guy and be like, man, it's possible for that man in Cambodia, that poor communist farmer that Jadam was written for, it's possible for him to make his own soil, make his own nutrients, grow his own crops, feed his own family for the whole dang year. I got to be able to make enough dirt and nutrient to grow a run of cannabis. It's got to be possible. You got to be able to do it, and you are able to do it. You can do this. And you just got to get in that mentality of, I don't want to spend money. I'm tired of spending money. Commercial commercial agriculture has really convinced a lot of people that you need Miracle Grow and that you have to use this certain ways. And you don't have to do it. All you got to do is do it like Mother Nature does. And Mother Nature's pretty dang lazy. She just lets junk fall to the ground and lets microbes do the work. And that's really what we are doing. Putting stuff on the ground, letting microbes do the work and benefiting from what they do. And you don't have to spend money. So yeah, that's the way I think though. I want to think like I don't want to spend any money. And I'm dead not because it's like a survival thing yet. It's almost like a challenge to me. Like I can do it without spending any money. And then I get to go brag to my wife, like, man, I grew all of this and I didn't spend any money. And you know how much that helps a marriage?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know?
Good point. No, a lot of people feel that way. Like you said, it's almost like a challenge, which is like, well, why don't I do it this other way and spend no money? So listen, we love the message. Again, follow OKCalyxx, everybody. Worth a follow. He's a huge friend of the show. Thank you so much for doing Community Cup, bro. That was a fucking awesome presentation. The video is up right now for members, actually, in our Patreon. I'm sure it's up on your YouTube, right? Did you throw it up there?
Yep, I believe it did. Yeah, it's been a while. Yep, I put it all kinds of places.
That's awesome, man. So check it out. Anybody find that link if you're interested in OKCalyxx's work. Check out the Community Cup presentation. Thank you, man. We appreciate you, Calyxx, so much, buddy.
Thank you very much, Jordan. It was a great time talking, man. Everybody go check out that page, as he said. It was fun. And I can't wait to do Community Cup again. I want to do it again, dude. I think everybody just walked away like, that was solid. That was fun.
Thank you, man. Well, you did a killer job, seriously. So check out that presentation and, of course, follow everything OKCalyxx does. All right, everybody. That's all for now. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. We got a bunch of stuff coming at you. Get on the green list, growcastpodcast.com/list. We're bringing back the green list, everybody. Till next time, we'll see you. This is OKCalyxx and Jordan Rivers signing off saying, be safe and grow smart. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to OKCalyxx. And stay tuned, everybody. We got some big stuff coming. Before we wrap it up, I urge you to check out our membership program, our little family of growers, the Order of Cultivation. Go to growcastpodcast.com/membership. Brings you right there. And find your new cultivation family. We have hundreds of hours of bonus content awaiting you. We'll solve any of your garden problems. Mary Beth is in the Plant Problems channel every single day, solving people's problems. And of course, we have giveaways. We have an Ask Me Anything live stream. We got Growcast TV. We do discounts for members only on a wide variety of products, resources now and available in membership. There's so much going on. You're going to love it. Try it out for free for 7 days. Just go to growcastpodcast.com/membership. I can't wait to see you there. I work hard every single day to make the members' lives easier, to enrich their gardens, and to hang out with them. I'm in the voice chat. I get to interact with the growers. It's my favorite thing in the world. So come and hang out with Team Growcast. Check out all the bonus content. Get in on the giveaways and the discounts. 7 days for free at growcastpodcast.com/membership. Thank you to everyone who tunes in, and thank you especially to the members who support what we do. All right, everyone, that's all. Love you all. Take care out there. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Do you like Growcast Podcast? Of course you do. Well, if you love this show, you're going to love A Slice of Cannabis, a show all about food and cannabis, hosted by our good friends and members, Hort and the Rugged Gent. What's up, Rugged?
Hey everyone, Rugged Gent here. If you're all about cooking, great cuisine, and cannabis like I am, then you've got to come subscribe to A Slice of Cannabis. We're free to listen to on Spotify or any podcast app, so come and subscribe today. Tune in to hear from world-renowned members of the cannabis industry as we explore the beautiful relationship between the food we enjoy and the cannabis we love to consume. Season 2 has just kicked off, so come check it out and catch up on old episodes with Jordan, friends of Growcast, professional chefs, and much more. A Slice of Cannabis. Find us on Spotify or your favorite podcast app, and I'll see you there.
A Slice of Cannabis, everyone. Go and subscribe now.